Hello, folks. This is State Representative Ed McBroom, and I want to thank you for staying on the line and joining tonight's teletown hall. And we're just going to give a few minutes here for a few more people to join into the call. We're dialing lots of numbers, and it takes a few seconds, and we'll get started. So if you just hang on, we've got a chance to take questions from you tonight, and we're going to share a number of different information of different things going on around the state, and take your questions. So I hope that you'll be interested. There's just a lot of things going on right now in the state of Michigan and here in Lansing. It's going to be one of the busiest times I've seen happening here since I've been in office. Between Detroit, personal property taxes, Michigan merit curriculum, road funding, budgets, it's a very busy time. So we'll go ahead and get started. One of the big issues that always comes up on these calls, and I certainly expect to hear from a few of you to talk about, is Michigan no-fault auto insurance. It's just outrageous, I think, what we're paying for our insurance, especially when we can just look across the border and see what's going on in Wisconsin. I've been supportive of just about every reform bill that's come along since I've been here, and there's a lot of talk about it, but we are up against such a brick wall when it comes to some of the folks who are against making changes coming from different industries, and it's very, very challenging right now to get anything significant done. We've offered a compromise, and it's been rejected again by the hospital groups, so we continue to move in trying to get some relief, but it is a big challenge. I certainly, entertain questions from you. If you have a question tonight, go ahead and push 0 at any time, and folks on my staff will get a chance to talk to you and get you in the queue, and hopefully we can get to those questions pretty quick. I'll talk about a few other state issues that are going on. I would think that a lot of you by this point have heard about the Detroit settlement package. It actually just passed the Senate earlier this evening. It's a really big deal, and especially for those of us up in the UP who, generally speaking, would just as soon see Detroit, plowed under or pushed off into the lake or sold to Canada. It's frustrating to us to think about sending money into that place again. But the package was significantly different than any previous help that's been provided to Detroit. And I just want to offer you a few comments on that. And if you have questions, like I said, I'm happy to talk in more detail. But generally speaking, the city of Detroit entered bankruptcy, $18 billion in the hole, and as we look for how to get out of the bankruptcy, there's not a lot of options, and whatever we would do would have to have all of the money split up amongst all the creditors, and including the retirees, who are some of them looking at taking at least 30% or more hit to their retirements. So the foundations around the state and a number of other entities all formulated a settlement plan that would allow them to put money directly towards the retirees' system, and involves having the state come in as well and providing a certain amount, and the Detroit Institute of Arts converting to a private organization, getting off the city's taxes, and also contributing towards the settlement plan. A number of labor unions also have decided to join the settlement and have pledged money as well. So this would reduce the hit to the retirees and the pensioners significantly. So the plan also allowed for the state to offer up new controls, and in a way, what it basically means is there's going to be some money going towards the city, but it's not going to go into the old, corrupt, irresponsible system that's been in place before. It really does some of the things the state should have been doing all along, and drawing lines and saying you can't act this way, you can't mismanage this way, you can't pay out 20 or 30% benefits. So there's been a lot of graft and corruption there that we've all heard about over the years, stealing of the pension funds to take trips to the Caribbean and whatnot. And all of that ends under some of the laws that we just passed here in the last couple of weeks that were part of the overall settlement. But what's also so critical in the settlement is that the possibility of being sued is over. The settlement would mean that there would be no future lawsuits for the state. The possibility was very strong, and in fact our Attorney General is sued to have this happen, that $3.5 probably even to $4 billion of liability would be on the backs of all the taxpayers of the state of Michigan. And so by settling this for $195 million, that possible obligation is taken off the table. And the dollars that we use to pay this settlement are some of the tobacco settlement dollars that come into the state every year. So I really felt like when it was a basis of, are we going to do 1950 person obligation that's then paid back through the tobacco dollars, or are we going to put everyone on the state on the hook for at least $400 a piece? And we get out of bankruptcy right away, which is a huge benefit to all of our communities, because we are just spending a huge amount on liability for every community's bond and millages. So that's a little bit about the Detroit. If you have questions about that or anything else tonight, please feel free to press 0 at any time. Again, you're on the line with State Representative Ed McBroom. I'm going to talk to you about just a couple other big issues going on in the state, and then we'll start taking questions. My Michigan Merit Curriculum changes that many of you have heard me talk about before. Really been some tough negotiations here the last couple of weeks. They've got a big meeting tomorrow with the governor's office. I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some final movement on the bill package here in the next couple of days. The governor recently has come out in very good, solid support of the whole idea of providing our students with some additional flexibility for studying career technical education, hopefully for the music and the arts education as well. So that's a huge victory to get the governor's support. If we can get the bills out of the Senate now, then we're really doing very well. And the last thing I'll mention is road funding. Like I said, if you want to ask any questions anytime, just hit 0 and please join the queue. But I'll talk about road funding and then take the questions. The House has passed a bill that really restructures where road funding comes from. Right now, all of us at the pump are paying nearly 50 cents in taxes, but only 19 cents of that goes to roads. I wanted a very strong, comprehensive solution that would fix that and would also fix our school funding issue, because a lot of the money at the pumps goes to schools. So the two are intricately tied at the gas pump. That lift just hasn't been able to take place. The politics of it just haven't happened. So the House proposed taking all of the unearmarked dollars at the gas pump and putting them directly to roads and not changing anything else that also gets money from the gas pumps. This was a $450 to $500 million bump in our road funding. Very significant, a really good start. Now that bill has passed the House, is over in the Senate. They're proposing something significantly different. That's a large tax increase of 25 cents a gallon. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pass that or not, but it's not something I'm going to be willing to support if it comes back to the House. So the political process continues to grind forward on that. Let's go ahead and take our first question of the night. And folks, if you've got a question, just feel free to press 0 at any time. So let's go ahead and take a call from Fran in Escanaba. Are you there? Fran?
Oh,
hello?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for taking my call. My question is about the big catastrophic auto insurance fee that all of us have to pay, that started out as $5, many years ago, and now it's up to $186 per person in Michigan. And every time I call and try to track it down, it's like the people that control it meet in closed session. They're not subject to the Freedom of Information law. And it's like you just get the feeling that they're being protected and that we're not. And I just look around here, and it's just dense-filled. When you look at all these cars that people drive in the UP, and most of the people can't afford to insure them,
Yeah.
And and the politicians always go, oh, yes, yes. But what specifically can you end this? I mean, who's in cahoots with who? It makes you think that somebody is in cahoots.
Yeah. Well, Fran, I hate to be the guy who just says, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I am trying so hard to get something passed. It's very, very aggravating to me that folks down here in some of the urban areas don't have enough sympathy for those of us in the rural areas where we have a lot more cars per capita. And folks down here who say, well, it's only $186 and I've only got one or two vehicles, when we have often more, 3 or 4. You've got kids driving, or you own a company that has 5 or 6 vehicles and you have to pay it on every vehicle. Who's in cahoots? I don't know if I'd call it cahoots, but it's mainly a group called CPAN, the letter C and then PAN, and they are very, very determined that we aren't going to make any changes. And they include folks from the medical community down in Oakland County especially, where they have a lot of traumatic brain injury operations. And there's a lot of members, representatives who come from that area. And it's big business there. And so you combine that with the fact they don't have as many cars, and it's just really a frustrating combination. And I've supported legislation to make that group accessible to FOIA. I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure how else to proceed except to, try and continue to ask citizens to be very vocal about this, write letters, even start their own.
Well, I have for years. I just wonder why CPAN is above the law, and why doesn't this medical society in Oakland County focus on the new law that let motorcyclists drive without a helmet in Michigan? I mean, that's guaranteed, brain injury, trauma time.
I don't know why they're so unwilling to compromise, except I know it's good business for them, it's good money for them, and it's
but
not.
Why are they above the law? Why are they above the law? Why are they more important than the average citizen that struggles? I'm agreeing with you that it's problematic, but what they do is they bring in folks who've been in accidents, who are getting rehabilitation services and things that make it very, very tough for a lot of members to feel comfortable voting for any reform. So it's a difficult issue. I am anxious to hear from people at home who send me letters. I constantly am turning them over to the insurance committee and saying we've got to fix this problem. I'm at my wit's end at how to proceed to get this changed, because it is just it's a nightmare for all of us in the UP. It's so expensive. And the city of Detroit is bad too. They're the most expensive place in the country because they got 50% of their drivers driving with no insurance. Mm-hmm.
But Fran, did you have?
I had another concern about renewable energy use. This anti-coal, deal that's going on by the U.S. EPA, and how it, we get what percentage of our electricity from coal? 49%. And if they go to alternative use, that just means that's very expensive. And I think they could put scrubbers. There is technology there that could make it clean coal. And, in Garden, that's in the UP, that.
I have a girlfriend that has to sell her home, she and her husband, for health reasons, and their home value is 40% less in Garden if they can sell it. And she said, Fran, it's constant noise. You can't even see the stars in the sky. All you can see is the blinking red light. It's very bad.
Well, the whole renewable energy issue is up for further discussion here in Michigan, but the coal regulations you're talking about are coming from the feds, and unless we can all write to the EPA and to the government and tell them to back off on this, I mean, every person has the right to go on and participate in that public comment, and I really encourage you to do so. I'm going to have to move to our next call, Fran. I really appreciate you taking the time. Let's go ahead and take a call from Lois in Harris Township. Let's see, where do we push the button? All right. Hold on a second. Oh, there. Now. Okay, sorry about that. Lois, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. I've been listening to you, but I've been also wanting to talk about our school systems.
Sure, go ahead.
You know what? There's so many of these kids that, in order to graduate, they are forced to take math classes, algebra particularly, that they don't need. What's going to happen to our factory workers and our technical workers if they don't get the education to do it? They don't care about math, you know. I mean, they have to have it to a certain extent, but not all the exaggerated math courses. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking, Lois. As I mentioned, as we were dialing a lot of numbers and not everybody heard, the merit curriculum changes, that's the rules in Michigan for what you have to graduate, is a bill that I've been working on very hard, and it would allow for a lot of students who want to pursue career, technical, vocational education to get some freedom, to get some flexibility at the high school level. The bill as it currently is does not provide quite as much flexibility in math as I would have liked to have, because I agree with you about some of the higher end math that's being required of our students, but it does allow for some ability to put those math classes into the actual in-the-field learning experience that these students get when they're doing their welding or their CAD programming. So, and I am in agreement with you so much that we really are doing a disservice to our students and to our future workforce by the current standards that we've put in place. Hopefully we get this bill passed in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we're getting more support from the governor than I ever expected, and hopefully we can get it done here in short order.
You're wasting these kids going to school for a rounded education. You're wasting a lot of their time sitting in a class they're never going to use.
I agree with you so much, Lois. It's very frustrating to see kids who have so much drive and desire to study certain things being stuck having to jump through certain hoops. And it's not that we shouldn't all get some exposure to various issues. I'm not arguing that, but it is really a shame when you're going to hold up a student's future career pursuit over whether or not they can figure out imaginary numbers or some sort of matricy differential equation. So
that's eventually going to be changed?
Well, that's exactly what we're working on here in the next couple of days. I'm hopeful. It's not just up to me, obviously. So.
Oh, well, yeah, I understand that, but.
We're really trying. I've got the votes to get it out. It's just a matter of getting the couple of gatekeepers in different committees to allow the bill to get voted on. So if you're a praying person, I suggest prayer.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Thanks so much for calling in, Lois.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's go ahead and take a call from Steve in Wells Township. Are you there?
Yep.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's your question tonight?
I was wondering if you could tell me how you feel about the personal property tax that they're looking at taking away, which bills a company or a small business on their equipment, and they don't only do it once, like when you purchase it, they do it every year on that. And where
Sure.
do you think that we're going to get that money to replace that?
Sure. Oh, thanks for asking, Steve. The issue of personal property taxes, for folks who aren't sure about it, I mean, any of your small commercial or industrial businesses around town, or even the large ones, are paying tax every year on their property, whether it's trucks or, presses. And so Michigan's one of the only states in the Midwest that has a tax like this, and there's been a long movement to get rid of it. But a lot of the money that comes from that goes to our local units of government and to schools, mostly the local units of government. So what's been proposed now, and will be up for a vote for the people to look at here in August, is getting rid of the tax, but repurposing some of the use tax that we all pay already. So this is no new tax, but if we repurpose some of the money that currently just goes into the general fund, we can make up for the loss of revenue to the local units 100%. And it'll be dedicated to services, police, fire, jail services. So that's what's coming. It's a phase out. It takes a couple of years to phase out, but it's a pretty good plan, very widely supported bipartisanly here in Lansing, and it's going to be up for a vote of the people on August 2nd this year. So I encourage people to learn more about it, and I think that it's a good plan.
Great. I have one more question for you.
Hurry up. Go ahead, quick, though.
Great. I'm just wondering if right to work came up again for a vote, where would you stand?
Well, I opposed it the first time, and at this point I would still be opposing it. As I've said before, I mean, I hope all the golden promises that were promised come true, and if we start seeing it, I think maybe we'd all be supportive of it. But at this point, I have yet to see any real evidence that it's been either hurtful or helpful. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Steve. Let's go ahead and take a question from Don in Escanaba. Don, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, good evening.
Hey, I was hearing you talk about the road repairs and such like that, and I was wondering when the Upper Peninsula was going to get any kind of funding. I mean, inevitably, every time the roads get repaired or get talked about being repaired, it's repaired down in Lower Michigan, and the roads up here, they're atrocious. I mean, I'd be willing to bet that half the accidents that happen are because of how bad the roads are in the first place.
Yeah, well, thanks, Don, for asking. One of the frustrating parts about how we're funding roads in Michigan right now is just kind of imagine that we take all of the different sources of revenue, mostly the 19 cents of the gas pump, but also the federal dollars, and we put them in a big bucket, and then they funnel out by formula in different directions. And some of that goes to MDOT, some of it goes to your local city, some of it goes to your road commissions. And but a lot of it also goes to things like bicycle trails, harbors, airports, other improvements that don't have much to do with our vehicles on the road. And so what the House passed that I was telling folks about earlier that you referenced, the House plan skips a lot of that extra stuff and says 60% of this new money is going to go to local units for their roads. 40% will continue with MDOT for state roads. And it bypasses a lot of that other stuff that eats away at some of the road funding. So I think that's a good start. I agree with you that in the Upper Peninsula, our local roads really need just so much directed attention, whether it's in our cities or our county roads. And, a lot of our highways and such across the UP are in decent condition. But downstate, what you'll find is a lot of their state roads down here are really seriously deteriorated. So I think that this plan from the House that puts in the 60% to the locals is really going to help our UP communities. That's why I've been supportive of it, and I hope that we can kind of get back on that track as the bill moves through the Senate. Are you still there?
Still here. Yeah, I'm still here, just listening.
Okay. Does that answer your question at all?
Well, I still wonder why when most of the income that comes in is coming from the Upper Peninsula, but less of the money that's being paid in is coming back,
Well, I mean, most of the money that goes into the road funding formula is coming from downstate, honestly. I mean, it's massively more coming from downstate than from us. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, we only have 3% of the population, so. And we got a lot of roads, and I'm not arguing against that, but I can't say that we contribute more than a 3% of the funding. So.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, it's like you're hearing things like Detroit is almost abandoned, you know, and I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but most of the population is coming up here.
Well, you know, and as that happens, I think that we'll see a change in the formula. But the formula for dispensing the money is really based a lot on, you know, cars registered in each county, amount of population in the counties. So there is the formula. I certainly support some tweaking of the formula. I couldn't agree more, but I really think that skipping some of these other things that eat some of the funding so we can direct it more towards the actual highways is a good start that helps the Upper Peninsula.
Okay, and then one more question is that I'm in a power wheelchair.
Okay.
And for the most part, you know, there's roads or there's sidewalks and such that in Escanaba that, you know, we can ride on, but when it comes to like paying bills like out at the cable company, we have to ride on the highway.
Yeah. I guess I'm not following exactly what you're asking. I'm sorry.
Well, how about some like, you know, when you talk about bicycle trails, how about some wheelchair trails that we don't have to risk?
Well, that's something that's been worked on with some of the Natural Resources Fund dollars as well. And I've met with folks up there in Escanaba, in fact, at the RIC a little bit about some of those accessibility options. I think that, you know, what you're seeing with a lot of the different new monies that come forward, and if we can get money to the local city to do some of these projects, they have to, by law, follow some of the accessibility rules that we haven't yet seen rolled out in our areas because it's been so long since our sidewalks and streets have had any serious repair done to them.
Or lack of.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for your time, Don. Thanks for asking the question. Folks, if this is State Representative Ed McBroom, and I really appreciate you being on with the call. If you've got a question that you want to ask, please feel free to press 0 at any time, and folks on my staff will get you in the queue. So hopefully we can get through. Let's go ahead and take a question from Erissa. I hope I said your name correctly.
Yep.
Okay.
This is me.
Hi.
Hi. I met you at when you and your wife played at Christian Women's lunch.
That was a while back.
I'm a violin player. And my mom gave you a cheesecake.
Yeah, I bought the cheesecake.
Yeah. Oh, you bought the cheese. Oh my, they weren't supposed to do that. Okay.
No, that was fine. It was a fundraiser. That was no problem.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you, and I've been calling Emily. First of all, I want to tell you what an impression you made on me. As far as you gave me hope, you know, when I didn't think I had any anymore, you know, as far as someone that could speak for me. It's been quite a while where I thought that someone would actually hear us, the people, you know, that we voted for you. And I really believe that when people deserve accolades, they should be given them. So I just want to start out like that.
Well,
thank you so much.
Kind. You're too kind. Let's hopefully move into a question as quickly as possible. You make. Go ahead. What?
Okay. So my question is this.
Go ahead.
Okay. As a musician, okay, I originally came about as a troll. Okay, so this is kind of like an aside of your other questions.
Okay.
But my vision was, because I am so trained in music, is how do I do half my stuff for free. And I've taught 2 autistic students for music to have them have the opportunity to become strong, confident, and fortunately, with what my knowledge was through music. So is there anything that I can do? Is there any kind of grants or anything that I could apply for to still teach? Because people don't have the money up here for string instruments or music. And I have just to give you an example, I have a student, real quick, okay? I have a student that in 4th grade was not even allowed to play be in recorder class, and now he is playing violin, he's playing cello, and he's autistic. And he is now in theater, he's in karate. How do is there any resources that I can use? Like I said, this is a completely different aside, Ed, you know.
Well, let me...
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple of different organizations that come right to mind that may be able to do some help. What would probably be most practical is if you let me... get back in touch with you and do a little digging and maybe have one of these organizations call you and kind of feel out exactly what you're doing. And I can check with some of the state departments too, although I'm not really confident.
Oh, that'd be so great.
Level.
Well, when I was downstate, I did write a grant. Where I went to different assemblies and I went to different estates and found instruments, where I could give them away or rent them or whatever. My thing is, I'm not trying to get rich. Obviously, I'm not going to be a rich musician, As a matter of fact, I used to have a bumper sticker saying Baroque musician. Get it?
Yes. I love Baroque music. So.
Yes, so do I. But
I
want to be able to contribute to this community. And, you met my sister Miriam. She's a cellist. You both play in Marquette Symphony, so we are definitely qualified. But I do want to be able to use this ability, God-given ability, to help, teach as many kids as I can. But my resources are limited, and they don't have string instruments in school anymore.
Yeah.
So
well, Arissa,
if I can come up with something. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Why don't I'll give out my email address. Can you email me? I'm fully intend to give out my email address on this call anyway. So if
I surely can, yeah.
Yeah, if you'll email me your number, I should be able to call you back in a day or two with what I've been able to find out. But for everyone listening, including, you can email me anytime at edmcbroom@house.mi.gov. And once again, that's Ed McBroom, EDMCBROOM, @house.mi.gov. And while we're at it, I'll also give you my office phone number, and that's toll-free, 855 347-8108. And I'm sorry for the pause there.
No, that's no problem.
Converting the letters to numbers and on my card here, it's DISP. So.
Okay, I got you. So
okay.
If you could give me like some kind of way where I could do this, I would be glad to. And I think we both are on the same page as far as how music combines a community. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's great.
Let me. I can't be sure I'll find anything, but I'll give it a real effort. And really thank you, Arissa, for your call and for your passion for music. So.
Of course, and it was great to talk to you. So
yeah, have a good night.
Much for your help, because you guys helped me a lot when I was going through the unemployment thing after I took care of my mother-in-law. You guys helped me so much. All I had to do was call your office, and they helped me with the unemployment situation. And, I mean, your office and Emily were right on top of it, and they got right back with me.
Well, Thank you.
So
We'll keep trying to
really
live up
appreciate
to
it.
that.
I think you are the voice of me. Definitely.
Well, thank you. So
You're very welcome.
thanks, Larissa, and we better take our next call. I just want to say as we get ready for the next call, folks, if you got a question, feel free to press 0. And, as far as music goes, many of you know my passion as a music teacher, and that's one of the other things in the merit curriculum changes that I'm very excited about, is not just having the opportunity for more vocational and technical education for students, but also a chance for students who want to study the arts to have that freedom to pursue careers in the art world as well. So I'll take our next call, and our next call is from Jacqueline in Norway. Are you there?
I am.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. So what I'm calling to ask you about is this Michigan Right to Farm Act.
Sure. You want to know about the changes that were recently enacted probably, right?
Yes. Some of them I'm a little bit concerned about, and how it's going to, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but I'm concerned about, people that want to grow things, or farmers markets or things like that.
Sure. No, we've gotten a lot of calls about this, and of course, myself being a farmer, I've, had a lot of people down here even talk to me about it. So what Right to Farm does, and always has done, is provide nuisance protection, basically, providing protection from getting sued for having a smelly place, or a place that affects other people's property values or things because they don't like your farm. And was really initiated a long time ago when so much of the urban community was moving out to the countryside where the farms were already located. And it was always, and still is, in the law, the Right to Farm law, that it protects commercial agriculture. And so what happened here is that over the last 10, 15 years or so, there's been a significant movement towards folks who live in urban areas or suburban areas, residential areas, to raise, chickens and goats and sheep and even some cows in closer proximity residential areas. And for the most part, mostly, those operations were not commercial operations. And, such as 4-H projects and stuff never were considered for commercial purposes. And so Right to Farm, while a lot of people thought it was applying to them, was not usually applying to most of these circumstances until some recent court cases came around, and then it started getting really confusing with the kind of a hodgepodge of different court cases about, well, what constitutes commercial? Is it selling a few eggs, or is it selling a lot of eggs? Do they have to be at a store or not? And so there became a lot of pressure and kind of a movement to clarify what was or wasn't a farm that was actually one protected by the nuisance protections of Right to Farm. And so the Commission of Agriculture, not the legislature, recently voted to say that as far as whether or not somebody's farm constitutes a Right to Farm protected from nuisance farm, it has certain qualifications of how close they are to other houses, to other communities, and how long they've been there, and some various changes like that. And it's got a lot of people nervous right away, and it had me too. I did a lot of investigation. I've talked with our Ag Commissioner from the Upper Peninsula about this extensively. It appears to me that for the most part, very few farms, especially in our area, but very few people in our area are actually going to be affected, because most of the people that this change seems to single out weren't actually covered by Right to Farm before, because most of them weren't commercial. Now, there are definitely a few circumstances that I think raise some real problems and questions, and the legislature has been actively working on whether or not to pass some legislation to make some additional clarity. But so far we're kind of waiting to get real feedback from, is there an actual new problem being created, or is it just a perception issue at this point? Does that help any?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Because, it was just kind coming out there, and all of a sudden you have all these people up in arms, and what, I can't have chickens, or things like that. So.
Right, and it was, like I said, for most folks who are concerned about this, they were actually already just simply under their local ordinances about whether or not they could have chickens or not.
Put a garden, whatever.
Right. So it really continues to allow the local unit to have that control. Like I said, I'm not saying there aren't a few problems yet that need to be worked out, but we also have to recognize, I think all of us do, that do we really want a law that said, well, my next door neighbor only lives, right across the city lot, suddenly has 20 cows in his backyard either. So where is that line going to be drawn? And the irony I know as a farmer is that you can have one person with 10 chickens in their backyard and have a stink and a mess, and the next guy could have 200 chickens and you wouldn't even know they were there. So there's so much variation and variability that it really is very frustrating, very difficult to write good law that's fair to everybody. And I know the Ag Commission struggled really hard and is keeping a very close eye on this implementation and make sure that they made the right moves here. And if folks are having troubles and seeing a problem with the rollout, they should certainly let me know, and I will let the Ag Commission know right away.
Okay, and then another one that goes hand in hand with that is the GMO.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I was out in Petoskey a couple of weeks ago, and there was a big demonstration. So, it's more people, I think that's what brought it up, is like doing your own gardens so you don't, do the GMO foods and things like that. So. Well, I know that it's a very big deal to a lot of people. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jacqueline. So let's take another call. Let's take Sharon from Iron Mountain. Sharon, are you on the phone still?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hello.
Hi. I have two very quick questions. How do you feel about gun control as far as us being able to bear arms for our own home and our own safety? And then also, I don't know if you heard about, but in Iron Mountain, someone was very upset about having religious artifacts inside the chapel. Like they wanted to have the cross and everything covered up. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yes,
that's my two questions.
Okay, sure. Well, I think that, I'll start with the gun control. Very much in support of folks having the right to keep arms, to protect their homes, to carry openly. I think that, all of these things have been really important to our heritage and to people in our area. So I'm very supportive. And then as far as the VA goes, I've been in touch with our county, Dickinson County Veterans Affairs officer. I've been in touch with the congressman's office, and this is truly an issue coming down from the feds and really leaves very little for us at the state level to be able to do about it. It's very troubling, very problematic. Now, I know we're getting a little bit of conflicting reports, and we're trying to find out exactly what has and hasn't been, demanded by the VA, the higher-up administration, and what's being decided locally and what's not. So there's still some questions I'm trying to get to the bottom of, but it is very, it's very frustrating for folks in our area, and I'm not happy about it.
The country was started with God in our country. We've turned our backs on that, and I'm not saying that everybody. I think they should have every religion treated the same. I'm not saying any one religion is right, but I'm just saying we were founded on God, and we're turned our backs, and we need to wake up, because it's pretty soon we've been so soft and letting everything slip by, and pretty soon our rights are all going to be gone, and we need people like you that stand up for us. So you have our vote, sir.
Well, thanks. I'm going to try and work with our congressman to continue to get more. It's very frustrating when you hear stories about the chaplains being told how to pray and how not to pray, and I think that's an even bigger deal than the windows in the chapel. So certainly something I'm interested in working on. So thank you for calling in, Sharon. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being there for all of us. God bless.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Let's go ahead and take a call from Paul in Gladstone. Paul, are you there? Hello? Are you there, Paul?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Yes,
Hi.
I am. And I want to first thank you very much for your service downstate. It's appreciated.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Secondly, you've gone through a couple of my questions already, but I would just like to reiterate that no fault is a ridiculous system, and anything you can continue to work on to get rid of it would be greatly appreciated. I'd just like to say that I moved up here from Wisconsin about 3-4 years ago, and I pay twice as much up here for less coverage than I did in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it's just the typical, the government's going to help me and take care of me, and we got to learn to take care of ourselves. I mean, we can buy our insurance and get good insurance and good coverage. And if you decide to go bowling and buy other things or go out for dinner, people got to get back to remembering what their wants and needs are.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to agree with you, so go ahead, though, with your question.
Well, I figured that, but I would like to, continue to push on, and I know it's the insurance companies. It's kind of funny because I remember when living in Wisconsin, when no fault was being introduced up here in Michigan, and insurance companies were fighting it like crazy. Well, now they realize all they can have to do is raise everybody's insurance every year, and they're all fine. I'll
tell you, Paul, not to argue with you over it, but I mean the reality down here at this point. I wasn't alive when they first passed no fault, but the insurance companies are on our side actually. The insurance companies are actually on our side on reforming no-fault auto insurance. So it's one of the few times where I can really say, well, I actually agree with an insurance company. They are, by law, responsible to bail out the system if it fails. And they recognize that no-fault auto insurance in Michigan is headed for a crash. And so they're very much in support of reforming it. So the insurance companies, obviously, at this point, don't even get everything they want either, which kind of is shocking to me, too. But it's not them at this point that's holding this up.
It's a very expensive proposition for everybody. And,
it is. Well, they have our insurance companies, not to beat the dead horse too much, but our insurance companies in Michigan are less competitive than insurance companies anywhere else in the nation because of this no-fault auto insurance, and in fact have an inability to market their product fairly and competitively versus a Geico or something else who can take the high cost of doing business in Michigan and move that and disperse those costs to ratepayers in other states so they can come into Michigan and sell for less. And that's really crippling our domestic insurance companies, and that's why they're so much in support of getting rid of or serious reform to the no-fault system.
Okay, well, that's good to know. The other item I had was the gas tax. And there again, you're going to tell me to move back to Wisconsin, but I know that they just, I believe, recently went back to, they were using their gas tax dollars for the general fund, and I believe they went back to, if not 100%, pretty close to everything going back to the state roads.
Yeah, well, look at, I just drove through Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, the road projects they're doing, the quality of their roads, I mean, it really shows they're spending around 32 cents a gallon towards roads. We're spending 19 cents per gallon towards roads, but at the same point, we're also taxing people almost 50 cents. So it's just a huge problem, and we really have to start doing better. It's just a monumental task sometimes getting all the cats herded together to make a good decision down here.
I'm just asking you to continue the fight, and thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks, Paul, for the encouragement.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's go ahead and take a call from Masonville Township. I think it's Pat. Are you there, Pat?
Yeah, hi. I'll probably think of a million questions after we get I hang up, but I'd like to ask you, are you a member of the NRA?
I'm not a member. No, they have endorsed me before, but I'm not a member.
Okay.
Not because I don't want to be. It's just never really come up in my things to do.
Okay. I think the NRA has just too much power because there's so many shootings, and to wear guns out in the open and the whole thing is kind of ridiculous. But what I was really going to ask you is, what's going on with bringing jobs to the UP, manufacturing and other jobs, so that our young people don't continually be leaving to go to other places to work?
Sure. Oh, thanks for asking. You know, it's one of those issues that when I get out there and I visit with different industries and companies in our area and small entrepreneurs that are going on, it gets really exciting to see all of the different things percolating in our area. And when you go to just across the Dickinson County line into Marquette, and you see over 600 people a day are showing up to build that mill in Humboldt. And there's numerous economic things that are just kind of starting to launch in our area that are really exciting. And Boss Snowplow has been expanding right along. You've got EMP in Escanaba and so many other industries. So, we're working hard to see that there's a better tax structure that helps keep a lot of these businesses from trying to relocate. One of the big deals is this personal property tax issue. And so we're able to eliminate this tax that really puts Michigan behind the eight ball, but still keep and then repurpose some other dollars that are going to make sure to keep our communities whole. I think that's one of the best things we could be doing to help these companies further grow and hire more folks. There's several companies that I've met with here in the last several months that are really seriously looking at the UP. We're trying to get them to pull the trigger and come, but one of the big hang-ups that we have in the Upper Peninsula is energy issues. We have a real energy issue in the UP with whether or not Presque Isle Power Plant stays online and how we're going to replace it if it goes offline. And that uncertainty out there is really making it a challenge to recruit businesses to come. The other big issue that I think is so important is this education issue with continuing to develop students in a workforce that want to go out, work with their hands, and be part of a manufacturing, industrial economy in our area. That's what our economy thrives on, not on the idea that everybody gets a 4 or 6 or 8 year degree. So we're trying to strike that balance. So, keeping Marinette Marine going down in Menominee and Enstrom Helicopters expanding and just so many really prime opportunities, but it's not coming as fast as any of us would like to see it. But I am just optimistic about a lot of the great things that are starting to happen.
Very good. Very good. Because as long as we keep our younger people here, Upper Michigan will grow, and that's the big downfall. And I'm sure that most people would rather work than be on welfare or, whatever else. I don't believe that people just don't want to work. The jobs just aren't available.
Well, and I think that we're seeing, unemployment's been coming down, but it's got to come down faster. I won't disagree, but hopefully we continue to move in the right direction. And, we're still struggling against strong headwinds in the national economy as well, and that's problematic as well. So, but keep on hoping that, the good things I see out there, the business owners I see and the young entrepreneurs who want to start signing up, there's just a lot of excitement out of there about the future. So we'll keep on
Very
trying
good.
to set the table.
So you're pushing for jobs. You're
Yes.
pushing for manufacturing and
that's
jobs.
what a lot of my meetings down here involve, meeting with different interested parties. I met with 3 different groups just last week who are talking about what they need to do to come up to the UP and who they should meet with, and I put them in touch with local community leaders, and I really hope that we'll see some of those. We got Bell's Brewery building in Escanaba. Just some really interesting different ideas coming to us, and part of it's because of the greater communication and that the internet and others provide, that the Upper Peninsula becomes more and more viable for some of these opportunities.
Very good.
So, well, thanks for your time.
My question.
All right. Sorry, Pat, I bumped the button there before I said goodbye officially, but thank you very much for your time. And we got time for maybe 1 or 2 quick questions here. Let's go ahead and take a call from George in Bark River. George, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. Go ahead.
What I'm wondering about is what does the illustrious EPA have in store for us people who want to burn wood? What kind of rules and regulations are you going to try putting on us this winter, if any?
Oh, well, and after our propane and the bad winter we had, I just don't seem to understand what why these people can't leave us alone. I really, Senator Casperson's been running point on this issue with the wood burning stoves. It's very frustrating how the EPA seems to be out, whether it's at the power plant or the water or now our home stoves. I've always been very supportive of the local community being able to say, look, your houses are too close together to burn a big bunch of black smoke in your neighbor's backyard, but especially for those of us who live out in the sticks, why can't they leave us alone? So we're trying very hard to push back. Tom's got some good ideas on not allowing our local DEQ to enforce EPA regulations when it comes to wood stoves, and I've been very supportive of that bill.
Are there any plans on trying to take some of the power away from the EPA?
Well, there's lots of plans, but unless people who support taking their power away get to be president and run the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House, there's very little that us at the state level can do.
I see. Well, thank you, Ed, for everything you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, George, for your time. We're going to take one more call, and then, folks, if you're on the line with a call, please, call the office and, answer, like I said, our number is 517-373-0156, or you can email me anytime at edmcbroom@house.mi.gov. That's edmcbroom@house.mi.gov. Or you can call our toll-free number, which is 855-347-8108. So we'll take our last call, and we'll go ahead and take another call from Bark River, I think. Brad in Bark River, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, more of a comment. I guess what's your position on this ridiculous bill that Senator Casper introduced for increasing the speed limits on all the roads in Michigan?
Okay. Well, I guess by you're labeling it ridiculous, I assume you're opposed to it. I guess I've been supportive of the idea that there's areas around the Upper Peninsula, especially, where we could see the speed limit raised, but I've also been trying to add to this bill that there's areas where I think we need to have more ability to lower it. So I'm not trying to kind of snow job you here by giving you a both answer. I think there's areas across the Sini stretch or out towards Engadine where we could very easily see speed limits do 60 or 65. But, when we get into some of our cities, Cedar River is a prime example, the west side of Norway, where, the speed limits there have not changed in decades, and yet the communities have moved out in those directions. And I think they should have the ability to lower speed limits in those areas. So how do you feel about that, Brad?
Well, the main thing, already we're this catastrophic insurance claim fees is high enough now, and I think with all this increased speed limit, you're just going to end up with more serious accidents and more claims against that, and it don't seem like anything's getting done to lower these insurance rates.
Well,
and, you got people talking on cell phones and distracted now and having these crashes. You're talking 80 mile an hour he wants on the expressways and all, and I mean, I drive quite a bit, and 90% of the people out there right now don't obey the speed limits. You raise them another 10 mile an hour, and they're going to be 10 mile an hour faster than that again. So,
well,
I think it's kind of nuts.
Well, I think you bring up an excellent point. I think that really one of the only ways that this is a viable idea is if we also work with the state police to say, okay, well, if it goes up to 80, you're going to have to be a lot tighter on holding it to 80 and not allow it to continue to drift around. And I mean, I'm not criticizing the state police by any means. I think that but they've been supportive because the speed studies they do show, well, you know, pretty close to the highest percentage is doing close to 75 to 80 on the freeways, and out in these abandoned, you know, desolate areas, they're doing 65 on US 2. So, I mean, I think that there's a good case to be made, but you are absolutely right. It has to be held then. It can't be allowed to have so much leniency. It would have to be kept pretty tight lid on. So, I don't know if that...
I mean, it's been proven there that the faster you drive, the more gas you guzzle. So there's just another, you know, you're going to be burning that much more fuel with higher speeds yet. Maybe that's the whole thing behind it, to get more gas taxed into the state of Michigan or something, which is another, I hope they don't get this raised at 30, 40 cents a gallon that they keep talking this extra tax, or you can kiss tourism goodbye in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a great point that I had neglected to mention earlier. It's just how a significant gas tax increase adversely affects our area, the state especially. So I appreciate you mentioning it. So
well, appreciate what you do, and like I say, I guess I'm almost 100% behind all your votes you've done there. The only one I guess I disagree with is your right to work, but seems like everything else I'm pretty much right behind you with, so at least you're out there fighting for us.
Well, thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. So anyway, folks, we're going to wrap up. I want to remind folks that it's Free Fishing Weekend coming up here, June 7th and 8th, if you're interested in that. And there's a lot of things going on in Lansing right now. Feel free to email me at edmcbroom@house.mi.gov. I'm working on resolution for the state school board to be elected by districts, so maybe the UP would actually get a member or somebody who represents our area. There's so many different issues going on right now. It's exciting. It's frantic. So anyway, thanks for listening in to the call tonight. And if we didn't get to you, I'm really sorry. Please feel free to email us or call us, and hopefully we'll get those questions answered for you in short order. So have a great night, folks, and a good summer. Bye-bye.